I'm not sure which one of these microphones is working, but you're still gonna get
Sweet, sweet sounds, baby.
Today on Poor Choices, we're taking my favorite Chef Boyardee meal to new heights.
Oh yeah.
With lobster and crab ravioli and a creamy lemon sauce. We're making our dough from scratch, our filling will be bursting with fresh flavors, and it all comes together with the brightness of our cream sauce to finish everything off.
Ooh.
I actually wasn't kidding when I said Chef Boyardee ravioli was my favorite growing up, because as a kid, this was like the most authentic and delicious Italian food next to SpaghettiOs, and it's probably been about 20 years since I've had this. Let's see, does it still hold up? Oh, that's gross. It's like mashed potatoes and tomato sauce. Make some more. Oh, the pain. Starting out, we need to boil our lobster tails. So I've got 6 ounces of lobster tail here, and if you want to go more, please, by all means do. And cooking these is really simple, so we're going to fill a large pot with some water, and we're going to add a generous amount of salt. And the salt's going to help bring out the natural flavor of the lobster. And then we're also going to add a few slices of lemon to the water just for a subtle citrus infusion. And then we're going to place our lobster tails into the boiling water and cook them for about 5 to 7 minutes, or until the shells turn bright red and the meat is opaque and firm to the touch. Then we'll get the lobsters out of the water and we'll let them cool for a little bit. And then we're just going to use some kitchen shears to cut through the shell lengthwise and carefully extract the meat. And in the event that you somehow undercook your lobster tail, don't be afraid to just throw it back into a pan real quick and sear it. And then we just finally chop our lobster meat, and we want these to be nice and fine because large chunks can break the ravioli dough when assembling. Oh, and one additional thing I did toss these in some melted herb butter. It's about like a tablespoon's worth. And it's just gonna add an extra layer of richness. This was a garlic Parmesan basil butter that I got from our local pavilions. Next up, we just gotta get a half cup of crab meat. This is lump crab meat that I bought from the store. Already cooked. The only thing I'm doing is just going through it and making sure there's no small shell pieces in there. And then we can combine the rest of our filling. So to that lobster meat and that crab meat, we're gonna add in 1 cup of ricotta cheese, some lemon zest, a squeeze of lemon juice, some minced up garlic, and if you have roasted garlic, even better, and about 2 tablespoons of fresh herbs. And this is like basil, tarragon, and parsley that I've just diced up finely. And then we're gonna add in some grated Parmesan for a hint of savory richness and season with salt and pepper to taste. And all the measurements are down in the description. I think I said about 2 tablespoons of Parmesan, but I bet I use a lot more. Oh, and don't be afraid to taste your filling. Remember, all this stuff is cooked, so taste it and see, do you want to add anything else? Do you need some more Parmesan cheese? Do you want some more lemon zest? Remember, this is the filling for a ravioli, so it's gotta taste great. Sometimes you just need a little bit more salt and pepper. Once it's to your liking, then you're good. Cover your bowl with some plastic wrap, pop it into the fridge so it can chill for a bit, making it nice and firm and easier to work with. And this will give us time to make our pasta dough. All right, so there are many ways to make pasta. You can do the old granny method where you just make a well with some flour and put your eggs and other stuff in it, and then you just mix it all up until it comes together to form a dough. But this is stand mixer season because a lot of people are making desserts and breads and all sorts of things. So I figured, why not use my stand mixer to make this easier? So I've got my KitchenAid stand mixer here with a bread hook. And we're also gonna use the stand mixer to roll out our pasta. A lot of people only think of the stand mixer as just something with the whisk that you can whip up things, but you can get so many cool attachments like a meat grinder. I have the pasta maker. There are spiralizers for vegetables, unlimited options. It's a very versatile tool to have in your kitchen. So we're gonna add the dough hook. I think I said bread hook earlier, but this is the dough hook to the KitchenAid stand mixer. It's gonna do all our kneading, so we don't need to use our hands. And then we're just gonna add 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a pinch of salt to the mixing bowl. And don't skip out on the salt because not only does it enhance the flavor, but it also strengthens the dough structure. And then we're gonna crack 3 large eggs. Now I'm doing these directly into the bowl, which honestly is a no-no because God forbid we get some shell in there. So realistically, you should crack your eggs into a different bowl. One, to make sure that you don't get eggshell in there, and also just to make sure that your eggs are fresh. God forbid you crack a rancid one in with your things, and now you gotta start all over. So ignore me and putting it directly into this thing. Listen to what I'm saying here in this voiceover. And then we're also gonna add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to help make the dough smooth and elastic. And then we're just gonna mix the dough. I'm gonna set this mixer to a low speed, like around a 2, and just allow the ingredients to combine. And the dough may look shaggy or crumbly at first, and that's completely normal. After about 2 to 3 minutes though, it should start coming together into a rough ball. So if you find yourself after about 2 or 3 minutes and the dough's not coming together, do not be afraid to add 1 teaspoon at a time of water until it comes together and it's not sticking to the sides of the bowl and all that. It should be firm, but not overly sticky. And just in case you get a little too carried away, maybe you weren't using teaspoons, you were just pouring a little bit in at a time and it gets a little too on the far end, you can always add a little bit of flour in there to kind of even things out. And once our dough is nice and ready to move to the next step, and again, it's pulling away cleanly from the sides of the bowl, we're gonna increase our mixer speed to about a medium low, like around a 3, and we're just gonna let it knead for about 8 to 10 minutes. Make sure you lock your stand's head down because sometimes this whole torque or whatever it is can make the stand mixer kind of bounce around. just FYI, or you can lower the speed. But you wanna let this go 8 to 10 minutes. And you're just looking for a smooth, elastic dough that feels slightly tacky but doesn't stick to your fingers. And you'll know the dough is good when you press a finger into the dough and the dough should spring back slightly. And then we just gotta rest the dough. We're gonna remove the dough from the bowl, shape it into a ball, and we're gonna wrap it nice and tight in some plastic wrap, and we're gonna let it rest at room temperature for 30 minutes. And resting allows the gluten to relax, making it easier to roll out without shrinking. So don't skip this step. Now it's ravioli time. So now we're gonna switch out our bowl and dough hook and put in our KitchenAid pasta roller. And we're gonna put it onto the widest setting, which is 1. By the way, you can also just buy like a $30 pasta roller on Amazon. It'll come with not just the roller attachment, but also like the cutters for usually like linguine and spaghetti noodles. Or you can use a rolling pin. So we're gonna take our rested dough and we're gonna cut it into 4 equal portions. And we're just gonna work with 1 portion at a time, keeping the rest covered. So we're gonna flatten the dough into a rectangle. We're gonna dust it lightly with some flour and pass it through our roller. Remember, it's set at 1, the widest setting. And then we're gonna fold the dough into thirds, kind of like a letter, turn it 90 degrees and pass it through again to smooth it out. And we're gonna do this like 2 or 3 times. And then we're gonna start thinning the dough, which is gradually reducing the thickness setting. So we started with a 1, we're gonna move to a 2, pass it through, change it to a 3, pass it through, and on and on and on until we get to about a 6. 6 is like the perfect thickness for ravioli. And your dough should become thin, but not too delicate, because we're looking for a thickness that will hold that filling without tearing. Then we're gonna grab another portion, do the exact same process, and remember, keep your pasta that you're not using, cover it up, and the pasta that you are using, just dust it with some flour, and don't forget to dust the roller and stuff like that, because the last thing you want is it sticking to the roller and tearing up. But then we're just gonna get both sheets pressed all the way out, again to that 6 setting, and then I'm just gonna take my bench scraper and just cut the dough so that they're both even lengthwise. And then it's time to assemble our ravioli. Now, you can make these any size you want. I'm actually going for a large ravioli, only because I'm traumatized from like my first few times going to Italian restaurants and having ravioli, thinking I was going to be getting these large portions, and instead they just brought out this tiny little plate of tiny like 5 raviolis, and I was always so upset. So today I'm making up for that, and I'm making some huge raviolis. But if you want to make smaller ones, by all means go for it. These are going to be huge. Also, because I have this pasta that I know I'm not going to use all of it, so I'd rather try to use as much of it as I can in this recipe versus trying to force myself to eat pasta for 2 weeks. And another note, if you want your pasta sheets to be wider, by all means go for it. Again, my plan was to just make very large raviolis. So get however much filling you want in there. I'm using a tablespoon each, and we're gonna leave about 2 inches in between each mound of filling. And then to seal the ravioli, all we're gonna do is just lightly brush some water around each mound, and that's gonna help the top pasta sheet stick. And then we're gonna place our second pasta sheet on top, pressing gently around the filling to remove all air bubbles and seal the edges. And then once you feel pretty good that you've gotten all that air out and you've got everything pretty sealed, it is time to cut the ravioli. We're gonna use a ravioli cutter here, but you can also just use a knife. And again, if I was making a bunch of these, I would probably cut way closer to the filling, but again, traumatized John here. He wants big, fat, thick ravioli, and he's gonna get that. And once you got your ravioli cut, just hit them with a light dusting of flour and cover them up and get ready to move on to the next step, which I believe is the lemon cream sauce. Yes, it is. You're hearing me look at my footage in real time. I had to make sure which order I did things. So here's the thing. Go ahead and start your water boiling now, because this ravioli is only going to take like 3 minutes to cook. And so the idea is once we finish cooking our cream sauce, we're going to drop that ravioli into the water, let it cook, and then bring it out and finish it in our sauce. That's the plan, if we time this right. So in a skillet, we're gonna melt half a cup of butter. This is unsalted butter, and we're gonna do this over medium heat until it begins to foam and develop a light golden color. And you're gonna smell like a nutty aroma as it browns. Then we're gonna add our lemon and cream. We're gonna stir in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and zest of a whole lemon to add some brightness. And then we're gonna pour in half a cup of heavy cream, and we're gonna stir continuously until the sauce thickens slightly. And then we'll stir in 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan, although realistically I really use like 4, and adjust the seasoning with salt and pepper. I know I write one thing down in the description, but I end up using more. I just wanna kinda give you all just a base foundation to start with. And then if you wanna go overboard like me, you can. Right around this time, we wanna go ahead and just pop our ravioli into our boiling water. And this water is also salted like the ocean. And we're just gonna boil it again for like 3 to 4 minutes, and they'll start floating to the surface, indicating that they're done. Then just get them out of the water with a slotted spoon, drop them into your sauce, toss them around, and boom, you're good to go. Also, just like the filling earlier, make sure you taste your cream sauce to make sure it's to your liking. You may wanna add a little bit more salt, maybe some more Parmesan, or maybe you went too overboard with the seasonings and you need to dilute a little bit by adding a little bit more heavy cream in. Just definitely taste it and make sure it tastes great before you call it done. But that's it. Plate up your ravioli. You can throw some basil, some parsley, whatever herbs on top of this that you want. I've got my nice 5 big boys here, and I can't wait to dive in. Hit it with a little bit more Parmesan cheese, and you're all set. Oh, my poor choices was this alcohol-free champagne. I bought the alcohol version many times, but I actually don't know how to say it. Mayonetto? Am I saying that right? I could Google it, but I'm not. But I've tried a lot of alcohol-free champagnes and wines, and typically they're trying too hard to be the sweeter stuff. This one's really good at being on the drier side. It's got all the flavor there without that weird alcohol removed aftertaste. And for those of you who are wondering, I'm doing a sober October, so that is why I went for this, and I am very, very delighted by it. Hey, this is Poor Choices Kitchen. We have a Patreon link down in the description. $1 a month is all we ask for to pay for recipes in these here inflated times. And we also have YouTube memberships. That's $2.99, and that does the exact same thing. Pay for recipes in these here inflated times. And every little penny, dime, dollar you have helps tremendously. So thank you for everyone who's been supporting me and everyone in the future who's going to support later. And now I want to introduce you to somebody. Hey, everybody say hi, Oreo. Look at you. You got some pep in your step. This is my dog, Oreo. She is 12 years old. Unfortunately, she is sick with cancer. And this isn't an ask for money. I actually just wanted to put her on the show because I've had a lot of my good friends on the show, and I figured why not have my best friend on the show? So everyone say hi, Oreo, and Oreo say hey back. And before you go, I'll make sure we cheers and toast to something. Girl, you better eat that bacon. That's good quality bacon right there. Floor bacon too? If you don't eat it, I'm gonna eat it. But anyways, this is Smorio, Oreo, Erytheus, what else do I call her? S'mores. She pretty much answers to any name, Diane. But she's been a good girl, and I'm gonna miss her. There you go, girl. You know you want that bacon. Don't even act like you don't want it. You want me to eat it first? All right, yeah, I'll eat it first. Delicious. There you go. I checked it for poison. It's good. Good girl. Good girl.